Today we're going to do the story of Catherine Yasinchuk. According to the hospital records, Miss Sinchuk was stopped in 1921 by police who, because she did not respond to English, felt they had no choice but to follow the policy of the times and take her to the Byberry. She became a ward of the state. For 6 years, according to hospital records, she continued to speak, but in 1927 stopped talking and only walked about or stared at the walls. Her commitment was reviewed in 1968 after a new hospital director, Dr. Daniel Blaine, pledged the hospital would no longer serve as a dumping ground. On Blaine's orders, linguists tried, without success, to speak to Miss Sinchuk in a number of foreign languages. Then Olga, we'll just call her Olga. Then Olga, who worked in the hospital's personnel department, tried Ukrainian. Miss Sinchuk responded. A woman who heard about the case came forward to say the description of the patient matched that of a young woman who had lived with her but had disappeared. The hospital's patient review committee then learned that Miss Sinchuk had come to the United States alone at the age of 15. She had met a young man and had a baby, but they both died. Miss Sinchuk became despondent, apparently suffered a nervous breakdown, and wandered into the path of the police, according to the hospital. She was released from Byberry in 1969 at the age of 71 under the guardianship of Elizabeth Nelson, Olga's daughter. She lived in a home for the elderly run by Ukrainian-speaking nuns until 1980. Then on February 14, 1983, Catherine Yasinchuk died at age 86. After reading the obituary for Catherine Yasinchuk, Dorothy Zucker-Kandel wrote this letter to the editor. The obituary of Catherine Yasinchuk was a touching reminder of one of the little people. As the public information director of Philadelphia State Hospital, Byberry, at the time, I released the story of Miss Sinchuk's confinement there for 48 years, the victim of a language barrier, institutional overcrowding, and chronic underfunding. I remember her as a good patient who crocheted discarded string into intricate patterns during her endless spare time, made no fuss, and thus drew no attention to herself. Only when the staff was increased and the dead-end philosophy of mental hospitals discarded was attention finally paid to her. Knowing Katie Sinchuk and hundreds like her convinced me that large, impersonal institutions are not good for people or other living things. Community living arrangements, supervised apartments, and group homes provide a less expensive, more humane approach. The fact that deinstitutionalization has not been properly implemented does not make it wrong. If we care about people and their potential, we must work harder to make sure that the isolated and vulnerable are not lost.